like it wasn't showing the camera. It was just showing, a picture. It says Dave Wheeler on it, and it just shows a picture that was doing this. A blank image background that was just doing with an icon doing that. Hey, these things are sent to excite us, aren't they?
They are.
I always thought I understood technology.
Well,
I'm beginning to think that less and less.
Well, yeah. You can count on not knowing it, I'm sure. As soon as you get, technology's like, as soon as you figure you know it, it's going to stick you.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning. It is Thursday, the 23rd of January. And, hey, welcome everybody. So.
Yeah. Well, what temperature are we today?
Well, the last I looked, when I looked last night, it was only -10. But it's -7 right now. So it wasn't as bad last night as it was the prior nights.
Well, yeah. -7 feels really good compared to -20, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's warmed up a little bit. And my thumbs will thank the weather for doing so. Because I got both my thumbs have got kind of bits in it where they've been affected by the cold. Cuts on them. Well, cuts on them that were caused by moving office, but they've just gotten bad because of the cold.
Yeah, they'll dry out. So we're gonna make it up to -4 today. All right, everybody, get the shorts and t-shirts ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Barbie. Don't forget to getting the Barbie out.
Yeah, let's have some. Get a few things on the barbecue. Yeah.
All right. One story we didn't cover yesterday is Gates wants a Team Canada approach on tariffs. He's basically saying he doesn't like Doug Ford's blustering and bully tactics. He wants a Team Canada approach where we kind of go down there and work together.
Oh yeah, well that sounds really good. However, you got a situation where Donnie Bone Spurs has thumped his chest, and he's going to have to do something. Otherwise, he's going to lose face. So I have a feeling he's going to throw up a bunch of tariffs, anything that he needs to do to make himself look good, withdraw the tariffs in a month or two, saying, well, we've resolved the issue. Boy, did I ever fix that. And everything will be almost the same.
Yeah. And he'll end up with a few more tariffs on things like Chinese goods that are coming in through Mexico or Canada or Guatemala or something like that. So he'll deal with something like that. But he won't be, I think he'll back off the tariffs from his main trading partners.
Well, he's all over the planet because he's saying that he's going to reduce the taxes of the average American by putting tariffs on things, as if the tariffs that is going, like the people who produce the product are going to be the one to pay the taxes. No, it's the one that's going to be buying the product are the ones that are going to be paying the tariffs.
Well, and again,
and that's kind of ridiculous because if you're paying tariffs, if you're paying inflated prices because of tariffs, then you are paying more taxes.
Yeah. Well, the irony is, exactly. So, you end up either paying, when it comes down to it, you pay either through the things, your income, or you pay through your sales, the purchases, or both, right? And I don't see any tariff thing, as I said before the election results were in. I don't see tariffs as actually doing any more than knocking 1 or 2% off percentage points off your tax bill. income tax.
See where it makes sense for a Chinese product.
Yeah.
Because they don't play fair, but we play fair.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
So he's saying things like we're subsidizing the Canadians for $200 billion. At first he said $100 billion, and then it inflated to $200 billion. What he means by that, nobody really knows. And of course, he could say anything, and his believers are going to believe anything he says. The other thing is, he now says that it's what isn't about the tariffs at all. It's about the border security, about fentanyl and illegals coming in. Well, they can do their part too by stopping the drug. How about we task them with stopping the guns that are coming in from the United States? They're worried about drugs coming from here. We're worried about drugs, illegals, and guns coming in from the other way.
Yeah.
So
on this, basically, Wayne Gates is challenging Premier Doug Ford and rumors about a provincial election on the face of American tariff threat. He says what he hears from communities is that the existential threat that requires everyone helping, regardless of being conservative, liberal, NDP, Green, or independent, right? The NDP further says in the middle of an affordability crisis, spending hundreds of millions of dollars on an election is something we can't afford. There's actually many parties, not just the main four that are involved in this election, and some of the smaller parties are basically saying the same thing. I wouldn't mind betting that there's probably there might be legal action to try and stop this.
I don't know. I don't know. I think Trump's going to put it on there because he now has said that.
No, I'm meaning the election, not the tariffs.
Well, Ford's election?
Yeah,
it'll go through.
It probably will, but I think there might well be a legal challenge on it.
I doubt it. I doubt it because every party plays the same stupid games. Every party is just like, we could say, oh, how terrible it is, and Ford has done that. Yeah, and it's it's a selfish move. But every party does it. The Liberals just did it. The Liberals did it during COVID, for crying out loud. I'll never have an election during COVID, and then he has, so they're all full of hypocrisy when it suits them.
I know. And it's like what I've been saying for years is that's one of the challenges of our political system. Really, what I'm hearing from Gates is it's hurry up. It's about time NDP was in power again.
Yeah, they have right now. The reason why they're going to find any excuse not to go to an election, why the Conservatives are going to find every excuse to go to election.
Yeah,
NDP are really on their back foot. They haven't had a really good leader for a long, long time. The Liberals, are really in the shadows too.
Yeah, and the question is, Merritt Stiles doesn't exactly excite the people of Ontario, does she?
Does anyone even know who Merritt Stiles is?
Exactly, and I would have said,
what about Crombie? Who knows who Crombie is? Once in a while, you might learn,
And I would have said the same even if Wayne Gates were actually the leader of the NDP. I'd have said, who knows where Wayne Gates is? Of course, we know who Wayne Gates is because he's our local MPP, right? But outside,
we like Wayne Gates, that he works for us, so
Yeah, outside of Niagara, outside of the union that he used to work for, who knows who the hell Wayne Gates is, right?
Gates didn't work for the union; he was elected by the union. And worked on their behalf as an elected official.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is, other than those members of the union that he was with, few would know who he was.
Yeah, in this area, we know who he is because he's always been there. He's always been there in the front lines, right? Never give up kind of guy.
Yeah. He's been vocal in our local area. He was vocal on city council. Good luck to him. But outside of Niagara, who knows him?
So definitely. But right now, the NDP and the Liberals really don't have much. I mean, Ford's, I would do the same thing probably if I was Ford. Here's a situation where I don't really have opposition of much anyway. We do now, like I want a reason to call an election. Well, now the tariff thing is really good reason, and I can appeal to Ontarians. I need a really strong mandate. Get out there and vote for me. Well, when the vote comes, when the average Ontarian goes to the polls, who are they going to vote for? There's nobody to vote for. We'll vote for Gates because we like him and he does a great job and we know who he is. But most of Ontario, they'll just say, well, you know what? We got to go with the guy that looks like Donald Trump's out of shape brother.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, so we got a few comments in relation to that. Gates is weak. He should step down, says Gary Wilkins. Gary and Wayne Gates don't get along. That's fine.
Well, what do you get along with, Gary?
He means we are making money from oil, and we should not bail to make a profit, right? We need a federal election now, not a provincial one. Yep.
Yes.
And I was on Labour Council with Gates. I can believe that. That's fine. Yep. But I was just talking about who knows him, right? Wasn't
critical. And remember what kind of power he can yield. He can only yield what power an MPP has.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I don't know. When I went to Nicholson's office one time, they blew it for me. He was a conservative guy. I didn't dislike the guy at all, but I went to his office for help, and his office blew it bad. I had to go return to his office a few months later, and then they finally took me seriously. Then they did what needed to be done, which meant that I got months of back pay from the government or back benefits from the government, but they just kind of sloughed me off the first time, said they did what they did, but they didn't do anything. So that's the nature of the game, I think.
Yeah. I have to say that I sent a letter to a number of people about some concern that I have, and the Wayne Gates's office basically returned with this thing that Mr. Gates is not in the government. He's a member of the opposition. We can only do what we can from afar, right? Which I took to mean, not interested, mate.
If there's something that the government is doing wrong that you're convinced that they are doing wrong or are not doing what they're supposed to do or whatever, then your MPP or MP can look into it for you, no matter what party it is. But if it has to come to policy issues, all they can do is stand up in the House and denounce them.
You see, that was exactly my issue. Mine was, these people are doing it wrong, and he's saying, no, that requires a policy change, and we're not the party in power. Yeah, such a wrong. I didn't bother following it up, but it was such a wrong attitude.
Oh well, they have. They're flooded with issues all the time.
Oh, I know.
And as I said before, when I went to Nicholson, I mean, they just kind of just right away just fluffed me off.
Yeah, and I get it.
Said they made a few phone calls. Everything's okay. Everything's fixed now, and it was worse than it was before.
Yeah.
So finally, I did everything they told me over and over and over again, and I just get bounced, and then finally I had to get back to him. I says, look, I keep doing well, Mr. Wheeler, you're supposed to do this. I did this, and I found this out, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to have to look into it for me, please. And this time they took me seriously, looked into it, and they had it fixed in 3 days. 3 days it was fixed. Right. meanwhile, I took 3 months trying to do what they told me to do to fix it.
Yeah.
And so they don't really care, each different person. They think they always believe
a lot
that
of them are just reading
government.
a lot of them are just reading off a standard how to do this sheet that is supplied to them by the government.
Yeah. And anyway,
Yeah.
Gates is put out there right now that we should buy locally. That's what we should do. We should try. We're going to have to hunker down because Big Donnie Bonespur's there. He has to show. So he has to shoot. He has to save face. So he's going to put the tariffs on. Now the people that work with him will know that they're going to have to convince him that's not a good idea in time. But in the meantime, he's got to throw them on there, just to thump his chest and just to show everyone he's boss man. But there's only a particular length of time he can get away with that without really hurting the American economy. So once he starts to begin to hurt the economy, then he'll say, well, they're doing what I told them. I slapped them around. So I'm going to stop punishing them now with tariffs.
Yeah.
That's
it's interesting. A gentleman I know in the United States gave me put a post up on Facebook yesterday. Let me read it. 2 days down, only 1,458 to go. Hang in there, folks. It might seem like forever, but we'll get through. We'll get there.
I don't think he's going to leave. I don't think he's going to want to leave when it comes his 4 terms is up.
Yeah, it's
like he didn't want to leave the White House when he lost the 2020 election.
Yeah, I'm not going to even comment upon that, but I just wanted to actually add that comment in because I thought, yeah, okay, right.
Look, basically, it's going to sort itself out. Look, the trade agreement that we're using now is the same one that that Trump wanted. So that's the whatever it is, the Uzmakan or Ken Uzma or whatever you call it.
But he is right.
Uzmakan USMCA treaty. Well, that's what we're using now. That was his treaty. That's what he wanted. That's his negotiated terms of trade.
Yeah.
Now he has to say that it's not about trade, not about that right now, because then he have to face the music about having a trade agreement that he is the one that was responsible for. And before that trade agreement, we had a surplus, or the U.S. had a surplus against that. After the trade agreement that he designed, now we have a surplus, the United States. So we're doing a little bit better. But before that trade agreement came in, we were doing a little bit worse. So if all that comes out, he's going to look like a big dummy.
All right. Okay. So moving on. Who would have ever guessed that Florida will record more snow than in January than St. John's, Newfoundland? I think that is one of these kind of oddball things that happened by Florida and Georgia getting impacted by snow over the weekend.
That's part of our negotiating tactics.
You mean we send the snow south?
That's
what
right.
was that? What
tariff
was that?
Free.
Was that
charge a tariff on this snow, Donnie?
Was this that Ottawa set up big fans to actually blow the snow south? Was it?
Yeah, that's my theory. That we don't have much in the way of military jets. We don't have much in the way of ships, but our military does have a lot of fans. So we put a lot of fans in the Arctic and blow the cold down.
Hey, there's another issue here, Dave. Hey, they've been complaining about not having water. There, we gave them some.
There you
free
go.
Water.
And there's more where that came from, Donnie. You get what I mean?
Yeah. And for your information, God made it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. God, don't even go there, because Donnie Bonespurs thinks he's divinely appointed by God now, because it's, oh God, I don't know. Anyway, they're getting a lot of weather down there. They're getting a lot of they're probably all saying the same thing. What do you mean global warming? What do you mean global warming? I think that's why they changed the term global warming to climate change.
Well,
Because
yeah, and the whole point was
people think of the weather they're having right now, whether or not it's part of global warming or not. The fact that they have this could be a result of global warming, because of the change of the currents, or this, that,
You said about experiencing snow in the sun in June, right? It was about June 15th when I experienced snow. It was in the year of the original Gulf War.
Yeah, I remember I remember one or two times on the May 24th weekend. There was snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we had it about June 15th. It was, so about halfway through June we had snow. It was snowing so that it was a thick layer on the cars first thing in the morning, but by lunchtime it was gone.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's a kind of an oddity, but hey, every once in a while the weather throws oddities at us anyway. He said, do not label it, just address it. As soon as you label it, they dismantle it. Yeah. Yeah. Fair comment. All right, let's move away from the snow in Florida, back home. Diodati says homeless encampments are the reason. Well, he said last night they are the reason we're paying $267 more in property tax this year.
Well, that's part of the reason. Yeah, it's one of those new realities. In days gone past, they were just able to take the average cleanup street crew and clean up homeless encampments or any anomaly like that. But right now, the issue is so great that they have to have a special crew designed for it and a special part of the budget for it. That's how predictable homeless encampments are right now. They are a special crew devoted to cleaning up homeless encampments. That's a sad thing. It has now affected our city budget. It is a new reality. If you go back and look at city budgets before, they did not have this kind of thing, clean up for homelessness kind of.
But again, remember, I think that foreshortens it, because he forgets that we had a 9.6% increase in the regional budget. That takes a hefty sum out of our budget, come what may.
I'm not so sure. Look, the staff, this is the game that plays. Staff says, okay, we need 7 or I don't know, whatever it was, 7.5 or whatever. And the heroic counselors pare it down to 3.9. It's like the same game every year. What is proposed by the staff, and full well knowing the staff will inflate it by double, or inflate it because they know that the city council members are going to have to look good. So they come around and say, oh, well, we can't have this. We only need half of that. And that's exactly what they get. But that's exactly what the staff
I don't doubt there's an element of that there. They want a 2.5% increase to pay for the increased budget of the city hall. So they go and ask for 5%. And then the city goes, 5%, outrageous, right? No, you can have 2.5%. And the staff go away thinking, bingo, 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 we got it.
Okay, we got what we wanted.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way: the city has kicked a few things down the road, and they always do that.
Yeah.
And they probably have kicked a few things down the road in this particular case. Lori Lococo was the only one that, like, I didn't watch the city council meeting, but I went through the budget. I
Yeah.
went through the budget,
Oh, yeah.
and I was supposed to be on Paul's show, but he had his show earlier than I thought he was going to have it, and he had it at home. So, but what I saw there that there was three proposals for reducing the budget by three different councilors, Patel, Newestag, and Lococo. Well, Patel and Newestag is a very, very amateurish kind of vision, and Lococo, being a seasoned politician that she is right now, zeroed in on new hires that she didn't think were, all of which were necessary.
Yeah.
She's the only one that voted against the budget because she felt that those new hires could be put off because our city couldn't take the kind of strains that is happening right now.
Well, actually, at a time like at a time like this, when you've got there's a question about new hires or delaying new hires. Delaying often gives you a budgetary saving, but the fact that you don't have the staff there to deal with the problem also gives you a budgetary nightmares, right?
Well, it looked like she was zooming in on some staff hires that would really actually just be redundancies. I think I think the way she worded it, whether or not she wanted them postponed or just eliminated altogether, she's the only one that really did any kind of homework on this.
Yeah,
I mean, you could tell that.
Remember,
I haven't heard what the other counselors have said about it, but basically they all know the same thing. Oh, evil CEO wants 7.6. Well, we won't let that happen. We'll have 3.9. Where the CEO is, like you said, rubbing his hand. Okay, good. We got what we wanted.
Yeah. And hey, when you were away last year, I had a session with, one day I was with Lori Lococo, and I actually asked her, so what does she do when it comes to the budget discussion? And she says that they first put out the first budget documents way back, months beforehand, before the actual budget is decided. And she has gone through, what she gets is different than what the public gets, but she's gone through most of those in a fine-tooth comb. By the time any budgetary discussions have even occurred at City Council, and she said to me, "I don't understand every element of the budget, but I feel that I must ask questions if I don't understand." And that's not to say, it's like you've got a element of budget where the staff are asking for an amount of money, and you just don't even know what that budget relates to and how it impacts the city and why it's of value to people in the city. So asking the question is important, because at the end of the day, you could be the person who votes for that particular item. You think, okay, that's an important item, we should include that in the budget, right? But if you don't ask the question, you don't know, and you're operating on gut feel. And that's largely about where Lori is.
That's quite a big, thick document, the budget. I'm not so sure.
We see about 150 pages. She sees about 400 or 500 pages.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I went through it. There are things there that I don't know. You're going to have to get some efficiencies from the fire department. They suck up too much of the resources of the city. We're just going to have to do that. There are things that are good, of course. You want to hire more people to do more things, to provide more services for the city. You just don't know how many that you need. Now, Burgess, the CEO of Burgess, wants more up-to-date software and hardware. I know that the city is behind the times when it comes to software and hardware. I know that. I know that back in the early 2000s, well, actually, right up to 2010, they were still at this. They were still doing things in triplicate with carbon paper in certain areas of the city. Believe it or not, that's how far behind they were.
Yeah,
they are behind technologically. So when Burgess came in, he could see that clearly that they were very much behind. You even know when the way you get on city council to read their minutes and stuff, you got the "I am not a robot" thing and stuff. That's stuff that was like, I don't know, 20 years old, but so we need an information, control of information, that kind of thing is very, very important. Collecting and distributing data, that is also very important. So you're going to need top flight software, you're going to need top flight hardware, and that's going to cost a lot of money. So
and actually the thing is that usually when you buy a new server, it can cost you quite a bit of money, but luckily, but thankfully you don't have to spend that money every single year. So it's kind of a one in probably 7 or 8 year purchase, but you might have to upgrade that server from time to time.
Yeah, the fact that I think the matter is that we were way too far behind, and that's
when you're behind. When you're behind in the technology, when you're behind in technology, typically you have to pay 2 or 3 times the amount to catch up.
Yeah. So it's not like your old car that you just keep going and then finally go buy a new car. No, right now, you have to keep up. You have to keep up. You have to keep up on technology.
And the thing is, typically most organizations have not just one server that they're using for their computing equipment, but multiple servers. And so when they replace a machine, put new servers in place, it's not as painful as it would otherwise be.
Well, isn't this really kind of a repeat of years past where the budget comes up and they pare it down to about half?
Oh yeah.
But too often they kick the can down the road. They mention that every once in a while. But when it came to replacing the fleet, the trucks that are required, the trucks and cars and so on that are required, particularly the equipment for the municipal works, they were working with just junk. And they kept kicking that expense down the road.
And that's the problem.
Where they either would have had to just dissolve all of municipal works or buy them new equipment because the old junk that they were working with couldn't be.
And that's the reason. That's a reason why you should be buying. Every year you should be making a purchase of a new piece of equipment. Say 2 or 3 pieces of equipment that are the most antiquated, that break down the most. So you buy 2 or 3 pieces of equipment, and then the next year you start planning about what the next 2 or 3 pieces of equipment are.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have to be,
and then the public says, "Oh my God, they're going to get new trucks and new blah blah blah." Well, they don't realize that they were paying exorbitant amounts of money to have them repaired year after year after year. So all that stuff has to be explained to the actual taxpayer, because they all think, well, what do you mean you need new? Why can't you just fix the old stuff? Well, that's what we've been doing for the last 5 years.
And it becomes problematic. It becomes problematic when you've got a new truck, and I'm just plucking a figure out here because some of these are heavy, intense industrial machinery involved in the truck, not just the actual truck itself. But if you're talking about a truck that to buy the new is say 120, 130,000, fully fitted with brand new equipment,
200 and something,
but to maintain the old one is like 80,000. Well, now you've just proven to me that you actually need the new one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so anyway, the same old same old's happening. The only thing I get out of the new budget is the new realities, and that is cleaning up homeless encampments. That is one of the new realities that we have to face. All the rest of the budget concerns are the same as they ever were. It's important to really realize what the public, they've done public surveys, and basically the public's mostly interested in things like infrastructure, roads and sewers and water and all that, and delivery systems thereof. Next down the line is like recreation facilities or something with, anyway, very, very practical ideas that come from the public, what they feel is their priorities.
Okay, a few comments. Right, 700,000 on Innovation Hub, that Spark Innovation Hub, right?
Yes. What is that?
No, that actually is an amount of money that, with all the history of Spark Niagara, I've still got a bad taste in my mouth. We need an innovation hub, that's for sure. But 700,000 is a lot of money. An innovation hub should be generating money.
I want to know where that money's going.
Yeah.
Is there being like Paul Lemire and I both have said the same thing. Where is the paperwork on this?
Yeah.
Where is the audit? Where does our money go? Show me where that $700,000 go. I bet you it goes to salaries. That's what I think. I bet you it goes to salaries or other things. I don't think it's going to benefit the hub at all. So I want to know, when we get the $700,000, show me where that $700,000 goes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's absolutely no doubt about that, and I think that we need to know that, right? Okay, so the next one is Laurie voted no, the only one that voted no. Patel voted yes and asked questions after she voted. Yeah, it's like, no, ask leading questions before you vote. Yeah, she doesn't get it. Sometimes, Mona Patel does not get it when it comes down to things like this. You ask the frigging questions, you make a point, and if necessary, you vote no.
Yeah, Mona Patel and Newsteg had proposals to reduce the budget, and they were just ridiculous. Weak and ridiculous. Well, Newsteg's were like the last one, and Newsteg's one was ask staff to find $160,000 to save. Well, no, the whole proposal is you find it, you suggest it. Don't do stuff like that. And Patel's suggestions were just very weak. And
no, exactly.
Have staff look for this. Well, what do you think they've been doing all along? That's the whole idea of this budget. And they have been looking for efficiencies, and they have been. And each counselor should be looking for efficiencies.
Yeah, they know. Let's be honest. There isn't a member of the city staff in the finance committee that doesn't know that they're going to be asked questions like, what is the impact of us not making this purchase? And at the end of the day, while they might not present that in each of their presentations, if you ask that in the council meeting, so I believe that it would be wrong to purchase X because it gives no benefit to the city. Let's hear what the benefit is. And the mayor, and the mayor turns around and says, Mr. CAO, right? And then the CAO puts that one off to the relevant finance person who's already got a pre-scripted answer for that.
Basically, the people in the city want their city services maintained to the best ability. They want, some of our roads are terrible. We like to see them get fixed. That kind of thing, the ordinary everyday thing. That's what the average person is most keyed into, is the infrastructure of the city. And the extraneous expenditures, though, now, no politician wants to be unpopular, but the fact of the matter is, we're going to have to charge more user fees for the services of the city. We may have to shut down the museums. Might have to even shut down the libraries for a day or two during the week to save money, anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, the average person wants their services to maintain, and anything extra like a new park or a new trail or anything that comes after those initial things are satisfied. You want to look good by saying we're going to give you a brand new park and you're going to get hailed as a hero. But when the price tag comes in, then you could say, well, we whatever. So we're getting pretty much a 4% increase, which is pretty much what we figure. It is supposed to be in line with. They're supposed to be in line with inflation and cost of living. Now, I don't know where that figure comes from, but the cost of living for the average person is probably more than 3.9%. But if that keeps the price tag down for us as a taxpayer, I guess so. But what I see is little things being kicked down the road. And that's why we have inflated budgets as we do now, because we didn't have the courage to do a 7% one back in 2022. So now we have to have a series of 4 or 5% budget increases and so on and so forth. So the realistic, I don't know.
Yeah.
Realistically, what you try to do is you try to determine how much the average person is going to, how much of an increase the average person is going to get in their wages over a space of a year. 3.9% is a bit much. You're very lucky to get a raise of 3.9%. But you say, well, that's the cost of living, and it should be in line with the kind of money you're making, which is not true. And
there are plenty of people.
It makes it look good.
Yeah, there are plenty of people that aren't earning any more this year than they did last year.
Yeah, so that the very idea that the cost of living is 3.9% and wages will be to match that, that's not the case. The cost of living goes up 3.9% in all aspects, but rarely do you get wages that match that, unless you're happily a government employee who gets raises, COLA, cost of living raises.
Yeah.
So the average person is supposed, so typically you're supposed to say, well, your cost of living is going up 3.9%. So we're assuming that your wages are going up 3.9% as your costs are going up 3.9%. So you can afford a 3.9% increase, because that will be the same as it was last year. Really, it's not.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So moving on from there, Niagara-on-the-Lake's Red Roof Retreat plans expansion.
Yeah, I love this article. I've gone to the Red Roof Retreat, and it is a facility for.
This is their facility on Concession 6 Road, right?
Yeah, I've been there. It's a house and a barn, basically. And the house is set up. All the grounds there are set up to take care, temporarily take care of it. It was originally designed for children, but also takes on adults now of special needs. These are people in wheelchairs, have special conditions, and they need around the clock sort of supervision and that kind of thing. Well, I've been there a couple of times, and it's amazing to me, the whole thing. It is really an operation of love by Stephanie Borgen, if I didn't pronounce her name right. Yeah, so she just is an amazing person. She's almost like a saint, and her staff are completely devoted to children and other people of special needs. They have nowhere to go. Think of yourself as having a child with special needs, and that child needs attention 24/7 almost all the time. You never know. Yeah. It's your child is in a wheelchair. It needs special medication, whatever else. There's all kinds of things like that. Well, that place is a place where you can take the child for a couple of days and get a break or get a rest or something.
Yeah.
You sorely need. And this is the place that does it. and now they're going to expand. And I was very, very happy to hear that. We gave them $4,000 this year, but in the past we've given them $6,000 and $5,000 and $4,000 at different times.
This is not Kiwanis Stanford. This is Kiwanis overall, isn't it? Kiwanis in the region.
Well,
because you give basically from the money collected in the individual area, like Niagara on the Lake, to make the money that is donated for Niagara on the Lake.
Well, Niagara on the Lake right now doesn't have any bingo anymore, but when they did have, we would give from that. But what we did, we decided, because this is a regional facility that takes care of people from Niagara Falls as well as other places.
Oh, okay. So you made a regional.
Yes. The same reason why we give to the hospital, although it's a regional thing, like we're taking money from Niagara Falls, but we know that people from Niagara Falls will be using the hospital. So that's what we could do. We try to keep most of the money in the city, but if something benefits the citizens of Niagara Falls and it happens to be a regional facility, we'll give money there. Just like the early childhood, the children's center in Thorold there on Shimon, or like I said, I don't know the Thorold St. Catharines, Shimon Parkway there. We give money to them. That's a regional facility too. But there are children from Niagara Falls that go there, and Welland is one.
Yeah.
So Welland gives money to it. St. Catharines gives money to it. We give money to it. You see?
Yeah.
If it's a regional facility that facilitates particularly children from the Niagara region, we'll consider it, and places like that we give. So the Red Roof Retreat, realizing that children from Niagara Falls have made use of that, need to make use of that. That's why we give money to them. Betty Zoom says, what did Betty Zoom say?
Yeah, she said, strange how Canada has no money, but there's money for programs.
Yeah, it's borrowed money.
Yeah,
it's borrowed money. Yeah, you can have money for everything. And don't forget, in Niagara Falls, we have reserve funds. So if something, when people say, "Oh, I thought we didn't have any money for that," and then all of a sudden there's money to pick up the slack of a particular project, where'd that money come from? Well, it came from the reserve funds, because every city holds a reserve fund for normally to hold back for big disasters or unexpected expenses. And we have a reserve fund too. And then we have to pay that reserve fund back.
Yeah. And the thing is, large amount. So Betty asked the question about, will we ever get out of debt? Well, St. Catharines, one has to wonder, because they've been in continual debt. Niagara Falls has generally not been in debt, although they are a little bit right now. Now, where you're talking about priorities, that reserve fund is primarily there for an emergency, right? It's for emergency spending. So if there was a fire on Clifton Hill, and I would not wish that in a million years, right? Then they have an emergency fund to assist people to get restarted.
No, it's for city expenses, not for. It would be for city infrastructure that was destroyed in that fire.
Exactly. That's
the other has to come from private insurance and whatever.
Yeah.
So if you have a big sinkhole. Let's say you don't, like a big sinkhole right here in Thorlstone Road, and the road collapses and it needs a whole lot of money. Well, you have the reserve fund to cover for something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a better example.
It is given out in smaller portions. Let's say a job gets behind, or a job comes in that there are unexpected expenses. Let's say this is going to cost us $10 million more than we thought. Well, it will come from the reserve fund.
Yeah.
So
the reserve fund basically is built up over time. So it's like every year they put an amount of money in that reserve fund.
or pay back the reserve fund for the funds
yeah,
they have used out of it.
yeah, exactly. So every city is expected to actually hold a reserve fund. So even St. Catherine's has one, right? Niagara region has one as well, right? Yeah.
The problem with every government is they want to spend more than they have.
Well, actually, the thing is about this is that, every government, if you think it does want to spend more, but for example, if you were building a new federal building, let's say, because you were creating a new federal building because you were suddenly going to move the Ministry of Foreign Affairs down to Niagara Falls, well, that would require building a new federal building, and therefore they'd have to borrow money to make that happen, right?
That's right. They wouldn't take that from any reserve fund.
Yeah,
No.
they would take some of it from a reserve fund, but they'd borrow money as well, right? And it's just a standard thing that governments do all over the world.
Yeah, the problem is back in Pearson's day, all right, Lester B. Pearson paid off the war debt by 1968, Canada's war debt by 1968, and then after that we only had 10%. Like we would borrow 10% of what we needed for capital projects and so on and so forth. It wasn't until Trudeau got in that he just started borrowing like a drunken sailor, basically, a guy with a
You're talking about senior Trudeau,
mother's credit card,
yeah.
and that's what got us in. But I can't say it was the only one. It was all other kind of European countries. They all did the same thing. They all started.
But you're talking about senior Trudeau here, aren't you?
Yeah, the senior Trudeau. So they're basically they just spend like mad people because they're spending other people's money and they have to become popular. And that's why. And then when we do face a real emergency like COVID or a war or something like that, we don't have any money. And it's going to be hard for us to borrow it because we're already in debt up to our eyeballs. In the United States, their military budget is matched by how much they pay in debt. The debt that Canada has to pay, the debt servicing fees that Canada has to pay, is equal to the GST. So the GST that we pay on all our goods is pretty much all that does is go straight right away to pay the debt that we owe. In other words, our GST is basically being collected to pay the debt that we owe for money that we've borrowed. Ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. It's okay. So we had one other topic, actually a couple of other topics for today, but there's this one. Cops made millions in an alleged Ponzi scheme. And they're trying
that'd be a good one for tomorrow, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to find out more about this one. There seemed to be another one because there's also another, and I don't know whether this is associated, but an Ontario man was among 4 facing charges again for money laundering and Ponzi scheme, according to the IRS. Yeah.
I'm wondering, I like to look into this a little bit more. I'm wondering if it was pretty much just it's a Ponzi scheme, but I'll let the audience know that a bunch of cops got made money on an illicit Ponzi scheme, which they didn't know was an illicit Ponzi scheme, but they were among the selected who had invested in this corrupt thing. That the guy who ran it made sure that they got their money to make it look good for other investors. And now those people who made money off of this false investment want to keep their money. No, can't do that. You can chime in legally on that tomorrow.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. We can discuss that. All right. Okay. So in that case, we will kind of call it quits at that point. And we'll come back to that story tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to start.
Yeah.
Without further ado, I bid you adieu, everyone.
And have a great day. Stay safe. It's been snowing out there. It's snowing again. All right.